A secret blockchain lab in Africa just signaled a major shift for Hedera, and nobody really noticed. Now, I followed the trail to Nairobi, and what I discovered about Hedera's momentum, it blew my mind. So I woke up to a headline that I never expected. The Nairobi Securities and Exchange, basically Kenya's stock market, has teamed up with Hedera to launch an innovation lab. And I was like, wait, what? A major stock exchange in Africa launching a blockchain hub with a crypto network. Now that's not something that you see every day. I had 100 questions just racing through my mind. Why Hedera? Why Kenya? What exactly are they planning to do with this lab? So I dove in head first, and as I dug deeper, it became clear that this isn't just a puffy little pilot project or some kind of PR stunt. The NSE Innovation Lab is designed as a sandbox for transforming Africa's capital markets using blockchain technology. Now we're talking about tokenizing stocks and bonds, bringing DeFi into mainstream finance, and building smarter market data systems. In plain English, they want to use Hedera's technology to make trading faster, markets more efficient, and investing more accessible to everyday people across the continent. And that got my attention. Then I came across a rather bold statement from NSE's CEO, Frank, who he said, that the NSE Innovation Lab is a catalyst for capital markets transformation, a platform for experimentation, learning, and invention that will power the next generation of Africa's capital markets. Now you can practically feel the ambition there, can't you, right? This isn't just tinkering around. It's a serious plan to turbocharge Kenya's financial markets using Hedera. So it clicked for me that the NSE isn't just dabbling here. They're making a statement, right? We're going to reinvent finance here, and Hedera is how we're going to do it. That begged the question, why Hedera of all of the platforms? Why not Ethereum or some kind of private blockchain? Or any other hyped up network? Well, I looked into Hedera's tech. Now, I'm not going to get super technical here, but here is what I found and why it impressed a stock exchange. Hedera isn't a traditional blockchain at all, is it? It runs something called a Hashgraph. Now, instead of miners crunching away or some expensive kind of proofs of work, Hedera actually uses what is called a gossip about gossip protocol, a kind of viral voting to kind of reach consensus. And the result is that it's insanely fast and insanely efficient. Right, we are talking over 10,000 transactions per second on the network, far more than most blockchains can actually dream of. And it achieves finality, transactions confirmed, in just a few seconds. Now that's the kind of speed that you need if you're running, let's say, a stock exchange platform. And security-wise, Hedera has this asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, ABFT for short, going on too, which basically means that if some network nodes act maliciously, well, the system still stays secure and keeps on ticking along. Now, it's the highest grade of security for distributed networks. So Hedera, it is fast, it is fair, and it is secure by design. No miners, no massive energy waste, and no single point of failure. Speaking of energy, Hedera is ridiculously energy efficient. There's no giant mining farms burning electricity. In fact, it consumes only really a tiny fraction of energy used by proof-of-work chains, in comparison anyway, and even actively offsets its carbon footprint. So it's actually carbon negative, meaning that it's one of those most eco-friendly ledgers that's actually out there, right? Now, in a world where Bitcoin gets flack for environmental impact, Hedera is like the honor student proudly showing that it's got these green credentials. So, put yourself in the shoes of a major exchange or a government then. A platform that is fast, secure, and environmentally sustainable is a pretty attractive choice, isn't it? Right? That explains a lot about why the NSE looked at Hedera, right? They needed a tech partner that can handle high throughput. Just imagine processing thousands of trades per second, that won't buckle under security threats and won't consume half of Kenya's electricity, yeah? Well, Hedera, it checks those boxes. And here is another gem that I found out too. This Kenya partnership, it didn't come out of thin air, no. The Nairobi Securities Exchange, NSE, actually joined Hedera's governing council way back in October of 2024. That means that NSE has had a seat at the table on Hedera's governance council for over a year now. Now, The Hedera Council, by the way, is kind of like a board of rather big enterprises that run the network, up to 39 organizations. So the NSE was already involved in guiding Hedera before launching this lab. Now, this innovation lab is the next step in the plan that's been in motion. So when I realized that, it had hit me that Hedera is being quietly aligning with big players behind the scenes. And speaking of Hedera's council, it's not a bunch of no-name crypto dudes either. It's composed of major global companies. Think Google, IBM, LG, Ubisoft, and more sitting on the same council as now the NSE. Now, these are the organizations running Hedera's nodes and voting on the updates. So the fact that Hedera can bring together Fortune 500s and a national stock exchange to run a network, well, that's pretty unique in crypto land, right? It's kind of like the Justice League of tech companies, jointly kind of managing a blockchain or a Hashgraph, technically in this case. And for NSE to join those ranks, well, they must see some real promise in Hedera's tech and the vision. So at this point, I was kind of already impressed, but the rabbit hole, it went deeper, because it turns out that Hedera's momentum isn't just in Kenya, it's actually global. Now, the more I looked, the more that I found Hedera popping up in places that I never really expected. Finance, right? The NSE partnership that we've been talking about, the first of its kind blockchain lab in Africa's capital markets. The governments, well, you got Hedera, which recently was selected by the Philippines government to power Web3 digital services. Yep, again, actual national governments using Hedera for public services. That blew my mind too. You rarely really hear about governments adopting crypto technology this directly. You have climate, right? Because the world's leading carbon offset registry, Verra, partnered with Hedera to digitalize the $35 billion carbon credit market and bring 1.3 billion tons of emissions data into a transparent ledger. Right? They're leveraging the Hedera Guardian platform to make carbon credits more efficient and trustworthy. Climate action on the blockchain, and Hedera is the backbone of that. Industry, of course, because Hedera even launched a project tokenizing oil investments recently too. They took real-world oil equity and turned it into digital tokens on Hedera. Now, this is a pilot, but it highlights how Hedera is expanding into traditional industries by making assets more accessible and compliance easier, right? Now that's a diverse resume, isn't it? Or for any crypto platform, from stock exchanges, governments, environmental initiatives, energy sectors. And Hedera is collecting use cases like infinity stones at this point, right? One for finance, one for government, one for climate, and so on. So it's doing all of this relatively under the radar. Now, here is the thing. This real-world traction is starting to reflect in the numbers too. HBAR, Hedera's native token, has been on the move. Now, in the last kind of quarter or so, the latest quarter, HBAR's market capitalization actually jumped 43.3%, from around $6.4 billion to about $9.1 billion. The token's price climbed from roughly 15 cents to 21 cents at that time too. That's a 43% increase over 3 months, which is pretty impressive in a year for many cryptos that have been kind of grinding and not really doing much. So it shows renewed investor confidence here. Clearly, some people are paying attention to Hedera's progress. And get this, user growth on Hedera's network is surging as well. According to a Masuri report, daily new account creations on Hedera has spiked by 178% quarter over quarter. By Q3's end, nearly 13,860 new accounts were being created each day on average. Let that sink in. Almost 14,000 a day, right? New accounts every single day. That signals a whole new wave of users, or at least new accounts coming into the ecosystem, likely thanks to increased visibility from some of these big partnerships and maybe a little price momentum excitement too. Now, growing users, growing partnerships, growing market cap. That's the trifecta of momentum. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great. But is HBAR going to moon or what? Well, believe me here, I'm also looking at the price charts, and I'm optimistic but also realistic. HBAR is around, 16 cents or so at the moment at the point of this recording, with key resistances at around 20 cents on the chart. Some analysts even speculate that if we break out from here, or at least the current range, we could see targets like 30 or 40 cents in the future. But, and this is a big but, right? Nothing is ever guaranteed in crypto. We've seen all of the coins soar, then crash, right? Now, I'm not a fortune teller and definitely not your financial advisor. In fact, this actually feels like a good time to probably drop that necessary and critical disclaimer, because this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. The point is, I'm excited about Hedera's trajectory here, but I'm not telling you to go and buy it or to bet the farm on anything, right? I just had to share this story because it's genuinely kind of got me a bit hyped up about what is possible. Now, let me just shift gears for just a second here and get a little bit personal about strategy, because as I'm uncovering all of this about Hedera's news, I am thinking maybe I should increase my HBAR bag just a bit further. Although that thought hit me, I should also be prepared here. Now in crypto, when big news kind of drops or when a coin starts moving, exchanges, they get overwhelmed. We've seen it happen many times. An exchange suddenly freezes withdrawals or goes down for maintenance at the worst possible time. The last thing is that you want, or at least the last thing you're going to want to do, is be stuck unable to trade because you relied on only one platform. That is why I have a plan and a rule, right? Basically have plan A, plan B, plan C when it comes to these exchanges. I'm registered, KYC verified on multiple different exchanges that I trust. For example, I use things like Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, LBank, Blowfin, BitGet, among many others. And yes, each mention of these, is important because I do have a link in the description to my website where I list all of the exchanges that I do personally trust and use myself. And on that website, I have all of my affiliate links, which means if you do sign up to any of the exchanges through my website, well, yeah, you support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. I'm bringing this up and I'm mentioning it right now because it's really important to me and it obviously helps this channel out massively. I want to say a personal thank you to anyone who does head over to the website and signs up to any of those exchanges. Right? The point and the strategy still stands, whether you use the affiliate links or not. So if you do spend the time to actually do that and to support the channel here, I want to say a big thank you. Now, the key here isn't the referral links or the affiliate links. It's actually all about being ready. Because if one exchange has an issue, I can just immediately hop over to the next one and I can just keep on rolling, right? So if plan A goes down, I've got plan B. And if plan B has an issue, I've got plan C, D, E, F, G, and so on, right? This has really, truly saved me many times before. I'll never forget in late 2017 when a major exchange locked up right when I wanted to cash out some profits, right? I was stuck just watching the price roller coaster, utterly helpless. Never again. Now I spread my trading across multiple platforms. I keep a very little amount on each of them, and most of my cryptocurrency, it is actually stored on Ledger hardware wallets, and there's a link down in the description for Ledger, by the way. Always buy it directly from the manufacturer, never from a third party like Amazon or eBay, because they might be tampered with. Always buy them directly from the manufacturer. If you're looking for that, there's a link to the manufacturer for Ledger down below. Anyway, I spread that risk across the exchanges, little bits on each, and of course, most of mine is in cold storage in the Ledger devices. I actually have 4 different ledgers, 4 different kind of risk tolerances and different things I use them for. But anyway, there's more about that in the Discord if you're interested. Anyway, this is not an ad for any exchange or for Ledger. It's just genuinely something that I tell people because it's great to have backups, right? Crypto markets, they do run 24/7 and they don't really wait for anyone. Anyway, if HBAR suddenly skyrockets because, say, another big partnership is announced or more ETFs or whatever, I'm confident that I won't be left on the sideline due to a technical issue here. And if I want to buy more during a dip, well, I have those options too. It's a simple tip, but it is a crucial one nonetheless. Don't put all of your eggs into one crypto exchange basket. Okay, so stepping back, what is the bigger picture here? Well, for me, this whole journey from spotting the Hedera Nairobi news to uncovering all of this other kind of developments is a reminder of why I fell in love with crypto in the first place. We're seeing a project that was often in the background, now taking center stage in some really important arenas. Hedera's story is one of an underdog, quietly delivering results while everyone else was busy arguing about which meme coin will 10x next week. It feels like Hedera's overall momentum is building into something that we could actually see as a game changer. No, I'm not saying Hedera will replace Bitcoin or that HBAR will go up to $10. Please don't run off and buy a load of HBAR or, just because of a wild prediction, because, that's really bad advice. And obviously I'm not a financial advisor, so you need to probably speak to a financial advisor, if you want to do something crazy like that. But what I am saying here is that Hedera is proving that it has some worth in the real world, right? In these real world scenarios. And that's the kind of stuff that actually has lasting value, right? It's carving out a niche as the go-to network for serious enterprise-grade applications, whether that is capital markets in Africa, government services in Asia, or climate solutions globally. Now, if you have watched this far, you're probably just as intrigued by these real adoption stories as I am, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about all of this too. Is Hedera still undervalued and underappreciated? Are we on the cusp of a bigger breakout for HBAR? Or do you think that these partnerships won't move the needle in the longer term? You can let me know in the comments down below. I do read as many as I can, and I'm genuinely curious what the community thinks about Hedera at this point. Now, one thing is for sure, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Hedera from now on, and I'm going to be, keep chasing all of these kinds of stories because they remind me that beyond the price charts and Twitter dramas, crypto is actually changing things in the real world, and to me, that's awesome to see. Now, you can do me a favor by hitting the like button and the subscribe button and joining me on the next Crypto Deep adventure. There's always another discovery just around the corner.